It is that kind of Friday 13th, huh?
I did get a haircut. Not for.
That's funny.
Should we do?
Excellent. Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. End of week nine of the General Assembly. So we are on the final swings, last 30 days here. Thank you all for joining us. Let me start by thanking from this morning Governor Moore, Speaker Pena-Melnick, Chair Feldman, and Chair Corman, who were with us this morning amongst many other members of the General Assembly to announce the energy package. This was a really important work, and I think the joint package will make a huge difference for Marylanders who are struggling with utility bills. What we know is that our state has worked historically and now best when all sides come together to solve these challenging issues on behalf of Marylanders. We know that affordability will continue to remain the core priority for the Senate as we move forward over these final weeks of session. This afternoon, though, I'd like to turn to our state budget, which the Budget and Taxation Committee did the Herculean job of moving forward earlier this morning. I'm very pleased to be joined by our chair and the subcommittee chairs of that committee to talk through the details. The work of this committee has been tremendous, and I will let Chair Guzzoni speak about the details of where we landed on this $70 billion state budget in just a moment. Just a few minor details, minor facts for the week. We passed 60 bills on third reader. And next week is likely going to be our busiest yet because, of course, Crossover Day is coming on March 23rd. So that will be the day where all of our legislation that has to get over on time has to meet that deadline by midnight on Monday, the 23rd. So it will be very, very busy next week. With that, I want to leave time for questions, so I'll turn it over to the Chair of Budget and Tax, Guy Guzzoni.
Is it morning? No, is it morning still? It's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm pleased to say that this morning we passed through the committee a balanced budget. The budget that the governor presented to us, from our perspective, was in pretty darn good shape. It was a good budget, and you may recall it's about $70 billion. General funds almost $28 billion. And the bottom line is that we're pretty much in the same ballpark as that. The exact numbers are still being calculated, but it's essentially the same thing. We made a number of cuts, but most of them were pretty small. At the end of the day, as I said, the budget as presented to us initially was pretty good. What I will say, though, is that because of some of the actions we were able to take through the process, we were able to leave a bigger fund balance, or what I would consider a surplus. And although that's not finalized either, because it requires some movement yet that's going to happen, though, we will lift that up about $150 million. So we'll end up leaving a fund balance somewhere around $250 million. Again, the rainy day fund stays where it was, 8%, $2.2 billion. Some of the highlights of some of the things that occurred, I'll get to the DD in a second, but we also increased our child care scholarship program by $20 million. We also restored the money for the consortium, $20 million for mental health programs in our school system. We also included about $16 million for a growth agenda, which we, of course, had announced before. That all being said, some of the other big picture issues are that from a programmatic standpoint, unlike the federal government, we didn't make cuts to places like Medicaid and SNAP. So we're going to keep everyone whole in those programs as we move forward. That kind of covers the big stuff that's going on. I know you always ask me, because you have in the past, what did you cut? And let me give you a quick little list. $10 million from the judiciary, $3 million by moving people from Medicaid who have renal disease into Medicare who can apply for that and qualify. That saves $3 million. We took $2 million from a biotax credit. We took $4.1 million from the IT budget. So there's just a couple examples. So bottom line is, it's balanced. It's consistent with a lot of what the governor did, but the changes that we made, I think, are important. The programs that we were able to save were important. In particular, the two things that were sort of at the end of the day was the one that the presidents talked about, and you had a press conference on earlier, on energy, and the second was DD. And so this was a tough one. It was tough because you never want to be in a position where you're pulling back some resources in that community at all. But with the enormous growth that has occurred over the last several years, and I mean enormous growth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and because of some very unusual things, it was sort of all the wrong criteria came together to make it get difficult to maintain services at the level and ensure that they were being done in an efficient way. And because of that, we had to look at these cost containment measures that the governor put forward. And those cost containment measures, we listened to the community, the advocacy community. We worked with the governor, with the other House, and the plan that is before us at the moment is the one that we've all come to an agreement on. This is what I would consider the best of the worst, if you will, choices. And each of those choices, and we developed additional ones along the way, we came up with ways to maintain and make some cost containment, but do our very best to minimize any impact on the people who rely on these services. So at the end of the day, we took about $123 million in cost containment. Now, of course, you may remember there was $150 million in cost. The remainder of that, about, again, $22, $23 million, $24 million, we're going to take out of the general fund, and we'll backfill it that way to ensure that we balance the budget. But the amount that is involved in the containment is less than what was originally projected. But we worked with the governor with this. We worked, as I said, with the other House and with lots of advocates. And again, this is the best situation of some difficult choices. And I think I'm good to leave it there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to start with two questions that are, I think, kind of related. The first is, as you mentioned, the increase in the balance. You're going up to about 250.
Yeah.
Did that come from sort of the top line budget number? So we've lowered it from where it came in at the governor. So where's the top line budget number now?
It is about the same. That's the one I said originally. We're like finalizing the exact numbers, but it's pretty close.
And the new fund balance, I would assume that does not include the roughly $360 million that came out of the BRE.
So yes, we're going to take part of the savings that we found, one in that BRE. Also, we found a pretty significant overestimation in an obscure thing called the local income tax reserve account. And between the two of them, it provided the cushion to be able to have a bigger surplus.
Mr. Chair, hi. In addition to developmental disabilities, one of the other significant things this morning was, as I understand, and please explain it to me, aligning the CEF with the actions contemplated in the energy package moving forward.
Yeah.
Can you summarize what the committee did this morning?
I think I may turn to the president on this one, just because it was really last minute.
Yeah, this one was a multi-chamber, multi-committee effort, and so there were lots of moving pieces from the way that the governor, and including the governor's office. So it largely repurposed some of the funds that the governor had allocated. So the $100 million that was an instant rebate plan was shifted to pay down the Empower program so that it would reduce the Empower line item charge for individual Marylanders. That's the one that is up to $150 a year per family, excuse me, not up to, at least $150 per year on average per family. We then adjusted the program that was going to be used for solar investments was expanded and shifted to a reverse auction so that it would be projects that are more likely to move forward and include those with battery storage. Why that's important is because battery added to renewable allows that energy to be bid into the capacity market, which is what lowers costs for all ratepayers for lower supply costs. And then we made some changes to add dollars that were previously for GETs, which are these alternatives for transmission, to things like doing HVAC and environmentally efficient upgrades to public schools and to our facilities. But for the most part, those were the major changes. It was more programmatic than substantial.
And in addition to those changes of programming within SEEF and how the money is spent, how much from SEEF is being used to close the overall budget gap?
It's still, I believe, roughly $233 million. We kept it the same as where the governor had used it.
233?
Is that right? 233 is what?
Thank you.
I have a question on Empower stuff. Is the $150 per year estimate just the changes in Empower? There are additional changes in this bill that would probably reduce consumers' bills further.
So the Empower is the bulk of it. There are other policy changes that will lead to additional savings, like the executive compensation and the membership costs for PJM. We also believe that some of the accountability things that we're doing for the rate-making process will lead to additional savings as well. We can't put an exact dollar amount on that, so that's why we're saying at least at least $150 per year.
Ballpark for everything.
On average for everyone. Now, again, for those who are income constrained, it's up to 1,000. So, there is a wide range based on usage and income eligibility.
For the $100 million, why was that, instead of doing the direct ratepayer rebate again, why are we doing it through Empower? Is that an effort to reach more people? I know some people behind master meters and condo buildings couldn't get the rebate last time. Is it that, or is it something else?
It's something that hits every monthly bill. And so it is based on usage and is spread out throughout the year. And so I think it's something that will lower rates immediately, whereas the rebate programs were, general consensus was that was not really fully appreciated by ratepayers. It was something that was hard to see. This will lower rates, which was our objective.
One more question is on the last thing. I noticed there's a cut to the Strategic Energy Planning Office, the Energy Resource Adequacy and Planning Act from last year that
Right.
was vetoed and then reinstated. Why was that removed in this proposal?
We believe that the staffing that's required for that bill to be implemented is less than what was being contemplated in the SEEF, and we believe that the processes within the PSC are a better and more predictable way to fund those positions at a lower amount. And so it's essentially returning those funds back out of, not using those SEEF funds for ongoing personnel costs.
Are you using PSC money?
It will be through the PSC administrative process.
Mr. President or the chair, I wanted to ask about one of the line items in the budget. I noticed it was about $124 million restricted funds for local law enforcement until it's ensured that they're not working with ICE or immigration efforts.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about why that plan is moving forward, given the law that's already on the books right now prohibiting those formal agreements?
Right, so as you know, we passed the 287G program earlier this year. This sort of just backs it up. Let's just make sure that they're actually living up to what we passed and ensure that they're doing the job as we described.
Do you foresee those funds actually being restricted?
I hope they aren't. I hope they're doing their job.
And as a follow-up to that, how would it be enforced?
The Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, it used to be GOCAP, and we all use that term, but they're going to be ensuring that with each of the departments, each individual local department.
Physical on-site?
They're going to be in contact with them. I presume they're going to get something and certify. They'll have something in writing that suggests that that's what they're doing. Yep.
So someone from the governor's office won't be going around to these local law enforcement?
I doubt that they'll be going around now.
Mr. Chair, this morning I noticed that your committee rejected something that Secretary Weissman a couple of weeks ago said that he respectfully disagreed with the Department of Legislative Services about state employee step increases. Could you give us a little bit of reasoning?
On the
There.
step increases. I mean, we largely did what the governor's plan was, so I'm not quite sure exactly. I'd have to get, you'd have to put the piece of paper in front of me, but
Maybe I'm getting the double negative of your rejection.
it's possible, yes, it's very possible.
So,
I think we recommended a rejection of the staff's.
We rejected that, yes.
oh, you rejected the rejection.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, yes.
Sure, a quick question, what you were talking about the local income tax reserve account, yeah, it sounded, I think the figure that was given was it was 150 and it looks like actually 380 ended up being in there. I was just curious, is that likely gonna be a one-time, like, yay, we found this year, or do you think that's expected to continue?
Yeah, well, no, it's not expected to continue. It's something that was determined to be an overpayment on our part, and you know, that happens occasionally. I mean, one of the things that's, I think, kind of interesting about this when we come into session every year, things look lots of different ways. There's problems to deal with and all kinds of things, but then there are adjustments that occur throughout the time period. The Department of Legislative Services does a tremendous job of analyzing everything, and we find things that go up and down, and it goes in both directions. This one just happened to come in our favor.
Great. And then I have a quick question for the Health and Human Services Subcommittee Chair. If you're on DHS withholding funds, it looks like there's a couple of provisional, at least the report on hotel withholding $500,000 until that report comes out. There's at least two others for $250,000. Just curious, do you have a ballpark idea of how much funding you're withholding from DHS for audit and compliance, et cetera?
I don't have a ballpark number, but I would say that after going through the budget analysis and being able to work with our respective partner, these are concerns of the respective committee, the subcommittee itself, and that we just want to make sure that we keep close eye on it.
And all of them are at least conditional, right? That if they fulfill what they need to do, they will be distributed those funds.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, going back to the energy cost savings, how long will it take for customers to see that reflected on their energy bills? Will it be an immediate thing after the passage of this legislation, or will it be something that takes some time?
It will be relatively immediate. It has to be implemented through the PSC, and so after the bill's passage, it will take effect immediately and then be enacted through PSC operations and then reflected in bills. So my hope is that by the summer, we will see all of these changes in place.
Could do one more, guys.
Maybe for the chair about the IT tax.
Oh.
Obviously, it didn't generate as much as the projections came out last year.
Correct.
Is that concerning for you as these budgeting conversations move forward and we're having talks about how to close, especially dealing with the structural deficit? And I know critics talked a lot about this tax potentially pushing businesses out of this state. Is that what we're seeing?
I mean, I think it's really hard to know at this point. It's early on. It always is of an issue of concern when estimates don't make their mark. But there could be a lot of reasons why that happened, right? You gave one. They may have, some people just may not have figured it out exactly what they have to do, dealing with their accountants and working through that. There could be a number of reasons why it didn't come up to the expectation of that. I think we need to let it roll a little longer and see what we get over the next several months.
Can I get one more about the DDA budget decisions?
Yeah.
You had mentioned that this is kind of a culmination of a lot of issues at the department. This community had a significant cut last year and this year. Have we stabilized the finances?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. That's an important question. Internally, we've been talking about this for a while, and there are a number of steps in conjunction with the administration and in this budget that we're going to be doing. One of which is that we're going to be enhancing the CFO positions in a number of places, including in DD, also in other parts of the healthcare budget. We're going to be hiring some more consultants, actuaries, and having the benefit of increased knowledge on that. And then, interestingly enough, one of the things as we transition into our new world of AI is that we're going to put some money aside for up to $1 million to contract with folks to develop a tool to be able to identify anomalies within the budget and to look at all the data that's coming in about all the transactions that occur in putting together. When you think about it, you've got thousands of people that are beneficiaries of this, and each one of them has a different setup on what kind of services they receive. And then you've got that changing over time. So all that movement is going on. And we're going to use machine learning to look at that information, find anomalies, and try to do a better job of bringing more efficiencies to the process. Why is it that this person with these conditions is getting something different with this person who has the same conditions? All of that has to be evaluated and worked through.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Well, I have to say one more thing. We don't have a deficit. We've never had a deficit. We never will have a deficit.
And we have a surplus.
And we have a surplus. And just for clarity's sake, we have a surplus every year when we leave here, every year. And that's lost on people because the story is always told, because it's easier to talk about this word deficit, but it can mean different things in different ways. But in reality, deficit means spending money you don't have. We don't do that. Thank you.